And I am back. It is the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. I'm Phil, and I hope we will see Pete in a little bit. And we are your guides through this Brazil, South America's biggest country. And it's been a long time since I've been on, guys. Life tends to have its own plans for you. So I got extremely busy and I just had to focus on other things, and I couldn't really get down and do the BJ. The good news is that I got a couple good ones coming up for you. So I'm gonna talk to a lady named Wande in the next couple of weeks, who is a good friend of mine who lives in Salvador, Bahia, and we're gonna talk about retirement in Brazil because she's a retiree up here, and the things to look out for, the good and the bad to look out for with that, plus one of the craziest stories I have ever heard about a friend of her that passed away in Salvador. And it's a lesson to everybody when it comes to figuring out your retirement plans and if Brazil is the right place for you when it comes to retirement, because it can get freaky down here really quick. And another thing that I got in store, and I'm editing the audio now, is that I interviewed a buddy of mine from work who's also a he's a, what's the word, a personal trainer, and we're going to talk about how to stay healthy and how to stay fit even if you don't have a lot of time, money, or you don't feel like going to the gym. But the cool thing about it is that it's going to be the first BJ in Portuguese, because he is a Brazilian, although he does speak a little bit of English. Real fun guy. So that'll be up probably next week, if not the week after. I'm just editing down the audio. And if you do not speak Portuguese and you want to hear or understand what we're talking about, on YouTube, there's this cool little feature. If you click on the little gear on the right hand side at the bottom, it auto translates, and it's not perfect, but it gets about 90 to 95% of what we are saying. So look out for that. And hopefully I'll also have an interview with the Indian ambassador to Brazil. That's coming up at some point. It's just trying to get our schedules to match has been the most difficult part about it. But that should be really interesting. And I have a couple other people in line for our BJ. Okay, the BJ is back, babies. And let's see if Peter's back, because he was having a lot of audio issues as usual. But let's see. Can Pete hear me? Is he going to say hello, hello 5 minutes later or no? Are you there, Pete? Yeah, Pete is not having a good time with his audio. Okay, so when Pete comes in, I want him to tell you guys a little bit about what he has been up to here in São Paulo the last couple of weeks. I know he's been to a lot of good shows. São Paulo's always got something going on, folks. I mean, it's not exactly the city that doesn't sleep, because there aren't 24-hour metros, and well, there are some 24-hour buses, but it's definitely a city that doesn't rest. I mean, you can find something to do almost any day of the week here in São Paulo. But tonight, as you can see from the title of the video, I'm going to talk about my first trip to Salvador, give you some of my impressions of the city, and I'm going to be joined by my friend Kira. Okay, she'll be in here in just a little bit, and she's going to talk about her impressions of Salvador, but also a few other places that she went to after Salvador. That's why I'm going to hold her for a little bit, because I want to just start off giving you my impression, and then we'll get her in and she'll give you her impression and tell you a little bit about what she's doing down here in Brazil. Real interesting person. And of course, we will play the BJ challenge. And I'll let her know about that in a bit. She's probably shaking in her boots right now. By the way, if you want to join the conversation, please comment on the side. And I will be happy to answer any questions that you have as we go along. And every once in a while, we actually allow some people to join in on the conversation. I send a link in there. So if you really want to say something about Salvador or traveling in Brazil, please feel free to do so. But let me get to it. I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to make this as quick as possible. Guys, I went to Salvador for the first time, and I will say this. Before going to Salvador, I'm always very honest with you guys. I had a little bit of prejudice. And why do you get a little bit of prejudice? Because I live in the south of Brazil. In the south, it's a little bit more European, if you can read between the lines there. And, they talk a lot of shit about the North and the Northeast. And so when I was thinking about going to the Northeast, I was like, do I really want to go there? It's hot. It's, and from what people say, it's disorganized. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be a mess. Do I really want to spend time up there? But a friend of mine, Dave, he is buying property up there, and he just on a whim, it was like the last week of work, he said, hey, you want to go to Salvador? And I was like, you know what? I've been saying I'm going to go to Salvador forever. This is like, let's just jump on it, right? Instead of saying, wait for tomorrow, let's just do it. And it was insane. So insane, in fact, that I wasn't able to get my tickets on time. And I ended up going up there by bus. By the way, there's Pete, proof that he exists. So I went by bus. Do I recommend bus? It's actually really comfortable. It's just a really long ride. It was about, as you can see there, 27 hours. So it was like a day and a half to get up to Salvador. But it was worth it, guys. When I got up there, it was one of the most beautiful places I've been to in Brazil. And I've been to quite a few places here. Not that many. Not as many as Kira. She's going to talk to you about other beautiful places that she's been at. But really, the thing that shocked me and really surprised me was how beautiful the place was and how clean and organized it was. So I came back with this mantra, which is if anybody from the south of Brazil talks shit about the Northeast again, I have the right to like curse them out, because the people up there were way more polite. The streets, you couldn't find the cigarette butt on the streets, even inside the favelas, and I went inside quite a few favelas. Does the city have its problems? Yes. When I traveled a little bit outside the downtown area, definitely. There's a lot of poverty, like favelas that extend on for kilometers or miles and miles. Yes, it's there. But even in those places, people were so friendly, were so kind. The Like I said, the place was extremely clean. Here I got a few more pictures from food up there is delicious. So my first impressions were that this is inside of a favela there. This is a kind of a tourist favela called Gamboa. But I only took these pictures to show, like, look at that. Down here in São Paulo, we don't have that level of cleanliness inside the quebradas, not even in the main strips. And there's Kira right there, which she'll come on in just a little bit because I'm curious to get her impressions. And I took a night shot because, guys, I'm not much of a beach person. And the only times I went to the beach were at night. And it's great because, it's a little bit cooler. The weather's not so terrible. The water's a little bit warmer. And safety. I felt real safe up there. I know some people have an issue with safety and they think the Northeast is extremely dangerous. There are parts of the Northeast that definitely are. And if you go into like the 3 or 5 or whatever, like 10 most dangerous cities in Brazil, they're most all in the Northeast. But that's because there's a lot of gang stuff up there. And you can usually try to avoid that stuff. And I don't know if Pete is on. I can hear a little bit of you, Pete, over there. But if you can see here on the right, Pete, we met the Brazilian George Carlin.
Yeah,
We saw there's George Carlin right there. We met him in the city outside of Salvador called Praia do Forte, where actually my friend was looking for some property up there. Ran all over. As you can see, I got 2 boyfriends up there because that's just what I do. There's Kira dancing. Guys, wonderful, wonderful place. This is Pelourinho, which I want to get back to with Kira. Speaking of which, I'm talking so much about this girl. I'm going to put her on. But first, I want everybody to say hello to Pete. Pete, are you there? for good now?
I'm here, yeah.
Ah, he's there. Good to see you, Peter. Now the
Hey.
band is back together. Now let me ask you, Pete, because I went to Salvador, but you stayed here in São Paulo for the
Hmm.
vacation months and whatever, last 3, 4 months. Tell us some exciting stories about São Paulo. What's going on in São Paulo? Because there's always a show going on. I always see you going to some rock show here, rock show there.
Yeah, there's no vacation months for me. I go 12 months a year, so not really any vacation. Um, yeah, we had, it's
Oh,
been a
you just
busy second half of the year for actually foreign bands coming to Brazil. I know, like in the last 4 months of the year, we got a lot of big stuff coming for you music fans who got money to spend. Paul McCartney's in town in December, Taylor Swift, Alanis Morissette, um, Ghost played in September. So yeah, there were quite a few big shows. I didn't go to a lot of them because that shit costs money.
Yeah,
So
we had the
yeah,
town. The, the town was really big. It's like it was a big festival, like Rock in Rio. That was what's his name was down here. Bruno Mars. Uh,
right. Yeah, yeah. The weekends, The
the
Cure played in
weekend.
that
Yeah,
as well, I
that
think.
was huge. That was huge.
Yeah.
And I think
No,
for Uh, Pete, real quick, I'm gonna cut you off because we're gonna talk Salvador
yeah.
here. But one thing that for people that are choosing places to visit and live in Brazil, one of the big perks of São Paulo is this: like you get everything. You get these folks
Yeah.
coming to São Paulo. You're gonna get Metallica or Rihanna or Taylor Swift or K-pop, whatever your taste is, it's coming here more than other
Mhm.
places around the country. Maybe Rio would be like equal to Sao Paulo, but even then, I think I see stuff here that I don't see in Rio.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I couldn't afford to go to. I mean, a lot of it I'm not into anyway. Like Taylor Swift, mad respect, but not really a fan. But I did go see the Toy Dolls in September. That's the second time I've seen them here. Really good show. Um, and then we had a nice open air festival this past weekend, which I'm still recovering. Um, all domestic bands, but it was headlined by Mutantes, who were a really big international Brazilian psych rock band in the late '60s and '70s. They're still around playing shows from time to time, so kind of a diverse lineup. They had Christian, who were death metal. They had Dead Fish, who were more hardcore punk. And then they had this nice little celebrity all star jam of different, fairly big Brazilian underground bands. Raimundos, because their singer died earlier this year of a heart attack. Um, Members of Far From Alaska,
By the way, guys, if you
CPM
don't know,
22 played, and
Pete, if for those that don't know and you want to get
this
into,
week. So I'll be going to
oh,
that as
Pete
well.
can
So
hear me.
yeah,
For Okay, so guys, for those that don't know, Os Mutantes was a huge psychedelic rock band from the 1960s, and here they are in all their glory. Very influential, even outside of Brazil. But we just talked about the singer from Raimundos
hmm,
died. Italy died, the queen of Brazilian rock and roll. She died this year, so rest in peace, Italy. She's got a lot of great songs, kind of
yes,
a pop rock, blend, but she's out. But
yeah.
anyway, folks, let's get to it. Where's my girl? By the way, both of y'all didn't put little icons on your things. Look how cute I look, and you guys look like ghosts. But what's up, Kira? Can you hear me?
I can
If you
hear
wanna
you.
if you wanna put an avatar, just click on those three little dots, and you can put an avatar up. What's up, Miss Kira?
Hi.
Get real close to that microphone. Say hi to Pete. You know Pete.
Hello, Pete. How are you?
Well, he's here. He's on a delay.
Ah. Okay. Oh, it's
But he's
okay.
I
here. He's here.
I can't actually because I'm using my work computer.
There you go. It's a little bit better than their regular computer, but you got to get your stuff fixed, man. Anyway, I need a co-host that it talks to me real time. So like I said, I went up to Salvador. I fell in love, Kira. My ass, you
Mhm.
saw my ass. Like I was
Yes.
not ready to come back. Like I was like, I'm done. Like just leave me here. I connected to the place on a lot.
Hello, how are you?
He's so delayed. Hi, Pete.
Anyway, that's why I love Pete. It adds a little excitement to the mix. But Kira, you had zero plans to go to Salvador, and I dragged your ass up there.
You did.
And I want to hear your impressions, but then also talk a little bit about
Yeah,
the
yeah, I'm
rest of
here.
your trip. Anyway,
He's
anyway,
so
we're back after a long time gone, and we're talking
yes.
Salvador.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
So, Kira, tell me, what was your impression of the place?
My impression of Salvador, it is actually one that I've been hesitant to say
Mhm.
because I feel that so many people, when you think of Brazil, you think of Rio, you think of Bahia, and it's like the place that a lot of people want to go to. But
Mhm.
Bahia was not my favorite destination I've been to
Mhm.
in Brazil, actually. I definitely enjoyed myself. The food by far the best I've had in Brazil. 10 out of 10. Um, for me, I don't know if it was like the time I went because the days I was there, it was the weekdays, so it was kind of a little bit slower pace, not a lot going on versus like the weekend when you were there.
And
Um,
you also went in the winter. Don't forget that. So you
And
go
I
in off
also, but
season.
that also is a plus on my side. I don't think I could make it, and like I have no intentions of ever going to Salvador like right now, November and stuff for like Afro punk. Like it would be way too hot. I don't think I know I wouldn't enjoy myself. So like the time we went was perfect. The food
I
was
agree.
perfect. Um, it was just a lot. It was just very slow paced for me. I think that Bahia was just like a great place for me to go to for like 3 or 4 days to unwind. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was very clean. I love seeing so many beautiful black people. I love the history of the place.
Yeah,
Um,
you stayed here in Pelourinho, guys. So if you're looking at the screen, I got a picture of Pelourinho. Pelourinho is the famous historic region of Bahia, of Salvador, I should say, where it's usually the image that the media puts out as far as what Salvador is, which is another reason why I wasn't that excited to go here. Because I mean, you've been to one historic city, you've been to all of them, and it's like,
mhm.
oh my god, like I did not like Kira saw how quickly I went to pick her ass up, and I was out of there. I was like,
Now you didn't even walk around it. No.
yeah, I was like, yeah, cute, nice picture here, bye. I so but you know what? I think I had a different experience than you because I was out. Like you go to bed early, and
I
I'm
am. Yeah.
yes, and I'm out like 9, 10 p.m. and I partied till like 2, 3, 4, 5 to the point where even the people in the hostel are like, oh, was that you coming in at 4:30 in the morning? And I was like, yeah. What's the issue? Um, so I disagree that I mean, it's definitely slow paced during the day and it is off season, but at night, there are some neighborhoods in this place that are bumping. That shit goes on till like 3, 4 in the morning,
Yeah.
or more. Like you just wake up. Actually, one night I did wake up on the beach with and met this lady who was doing adult things on the rocks. But anyway, that's another story. But go
Yeah. I
ahead.
was in bed.
You were in bed.
Yes.
Let me see if Pete's still there. Oh, there he is. But anyway, so but I feel you. It is definitely slow paced, guys. So if you're just there we are in the morning. This is after like I think I was up 24 hours. This picture on the left, I was definitely up 24 hours. These, you know, and before we go on, I think the main takeaway for me from Salvador is the people, man. The people make the place. And they were like the friendliest motherfuckers on planet Earth. Like, seriously.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I've been to other places too, but yes, they were also very definitely family.
Yeah, I think it's the Northeast flavor. I always make a comparison for those that listen that are from the U.S. to like the South, the American South, where you get that kind of hospitality. People want
Hmm.
to feed you. People are calling you darling and baby and this and sugar
Yes,
and the Northeast is the same. It's like you're part of the family in like 2 seconds if they like you.
absolutely.
Exactly. You got to be careful with that though, because a lot of them use that to trick you and take all your money. But like even like this picture in the middle, these two guys I met, it was on a Monday night. So like, Kira said, there was nothing to do. I'm there as a tourist on a Monday night. Everything's closed except for this one bar was open. So I went to it like around 9:30. And I'm like, all right, I ordered a couple beers and I noticed there's people around the bar. I thought it was the bar owner's family, because there was like these little kids, there was older people, and this guy on the left with the big beard, he just stood up out of nowhere. He's like, put on some Bob Marley. And the owner was like, man, nobody wants to listen to Bob Marley. And he's like, put on Bob Marley. Man, we were like, well, we were drinking. Let's just put it, PG version. We were drinking a lot until like 3 in the morning, listening to Bob Marley, like these people. And I had no clue though that what it was is that this bar owner was actually like he opened his bar after hours for all the street workers to go there and have something to eat and drink. And I only found out that these guys are street workers the next day because I'm waking up. I go outside and they're over there flagging cars down to park cars. I was like, oh my God, this is like so different than Sao Paulo. Because here in Sao Paulo, they try to kick these people off the street. Like they want to get rid of them. And I actually asked a friend of mine that I met there. It's the boy on the very far left there, Naama. I asked him like, where are the homeless people in this city? Because in Sao Paulo, it's what you see. You see homeless people, you see kids trying to sell candy at the traffic light. It's like it just becomes like it was shocking when I first came down here, but now sad to say I kind of got used to it. But I didn't see that in Salvador. I was like, where are the homeless folks, the panhandlers? And he was like, well, they kind of take care of people up here. They become part of the community. And owners of bars will let them come in after hours. If it's raining, they'll feed them and shit like that. So I ended up like these two guys, they're like street dwellers, but they were like so nice. I was like, good Lord. So it's definitely a different vibe up there. It's definitely a different vibe as far as the way people treat you. On the far right there, I want to thank Tony in case he's listening or will listen. He's a big fan of the Brazil Expat Journal, so I'm glad I got to meet him in person. He invited us to his house. He lives inside of a huge favela, as you can see in the background. His house is like 4 stories high. It's a gorgeous house. I wish you would have been there, Kira, to go to his house. And he hosted us over there. And again, even like I felt completely comfortable, in the area. Nobody bothered me. Everything was fine. So I highly recommend it. I highly recommend. I think as a first place to visit, if you're going to the Northeast, I think Salvador is a good starter. But then you move on, like Miss Kira moved on, and you went everywhere, bitch. Like you haven't stopped. What the hell?
Yeah, I'm on a little break right now, but I'll soon be returning back to my adventures.
All right, so let me ask you, where did you go? No, you were somewhere else before you came to Salvador. You were in Rio, but that's boring. But weren't you like in Maranhão or something like that, like at the dunes or something? Was that before or
Yeah,
after?
after.
Tell me a little bit about that.
How do you pronounce it correctly? I don't want to mess it up. Lençóis.
Lençóis Maranhenses, I think is the
Yes,
correct way.
Lençóis Maranhenses. It was absolutely amazing. So I used a tour company, and they picked me up from the airport in São Luís. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's São Luís.
São Luís. They picked you up. Like we stop and we'll get food because it's like a 3 hour destination, and then they have different options for housing. So then they drop us off, and they have different packages. So they have like 3 day packages and 4 day packages, and like they have ones where you can fly over the dunes. They have one where you can go to different parts of the dunes. They have ones where you go sandboarding down the dunes. So just like different experiences. Um, they were very communicative. They were very helpful. They were on time. I felt safe. I felt like they were the sweetest. Like I didn't see any black people there. It felt like being kind of like what did it gave me the experience of being like in Ecuador or something again, like where I didn't see anybody in my shade of color. Like I'm a dark skinned black girl. Um, and so everybody was just what do you call it? Like mixed or um they just look Latino to me. So
Hmm.
I definitely stood out. You could definitely tell I was a gringo. Um, what else? It's its own type of vibe. Like it reminded me a lot of of Vietnam as well because of how they rode on their motorcycles. Like people holding the babies. Like nobody's using a helmet. There are 3 or 4 people or 5 people, families on like one motorcycle. It's very small. Like you can walk around the entire city. But it's also just very beautiful. Like the people there felt very much like a community. Like everybody knew everybody. I don't know, it was just small. It was a community. It was beautiful. The food was good. And it made me feel at home. I really, really enjoyed my time there.
And I think that's the key takeaway, guys, if we're starting to explore the Northeast. And that's like one of my goals is to explore the Northeast now, since I've been to Salvador a little bit more, is the community feel of the Northeast, which is more than in the south of Brazil. I mean, Brazilians in general are more community based than Europeans and North Americans, but the closer you get to the north, I think the more it becomes evident, and and they really try to make your experience as wonderful as possible. Um, so you went through the dunes, but then where'd you head to after that?
Recife. That is my like second place, my second favorite place in Brazil.
That's crazy.
I absolutely loved it. And you remember my first experience that I had in the airport, and I thought I was going to hate it there. Absolutely loved it. Like Recife was a Rio vibe, but smaller, but with the kindness of people from Lençóis in Bahia. That's like the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
I got the city and the beach feel. The food was absolutely amazing. To me, it's just like it was like a walking museum, just with the street art or the buildings or just um even their accent is just so different. And it just draws you in. I mean, I met so many people and it was also my first experience of not having service on my phone, so I had to be um what's the word, I had to be more social than I normally am. And like I met and talked to so many and sometimes my because I didn't have internet, my card wouldn't work on my phone. So many people bought things for me, paid for my food, paid for my Uber. um I like had so many conversations, and they have the same thing with the homeless people, like that you were talking about in Bahia. Like the homeless people work; they're taken care of there. Um, I love that place. Like I wouldn't even mind moving to Recife.
Oh my God, that's crazy. And that's so funny you say that because I remember you had such a rough time in the airport.
Hmm.
But my whole family's from Recife. I've never been there. So at some point I gotta
Wow.
make it up there
It
and
is
check
so
it out.
crazy to me that like I'm learning how people have been here for years and not traveled. And maybe I don't know, another thing we could do is maybe find like I can help people find like cheap traveling around Brazil. Because Brazil is so cheap to travel around to me.
Well, there's an opening for that because that's the type of stuff Watif, rest in peace, used to do. Help people travel around. And yeah, guys, Kira's really good at finding cheap tickets. She's not that good at seeing the correct dates.
No, we are not so good. That's a team effort.
Yeah, because I had to come back to São Paulo by bus because we got a really cheap ticket, but unfortunately it was for like August 4th or something and not like July, whatever day I had to come back. But that happens. That happens. But there are ways to get real cheap tickets. Pete, let me see if Pete's there and kicking.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. There he is. Let's enjoy Pete while we can, while the connection's good.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Pete,
Actually, I did have a question about Hasifi, but I didn't want to interrupt and then have it
oh,
come
go
like ten
ahead. If
minutes
you're
later.
on, Pete, interrupt. If
I've
it's like,
heard that Hasifi is really industrial. That's its reputation. Did you see any of that? That's
Actually,
like the book on Hasifi. That it's yeah, kind of polluted and industrial. I mean, the pictures look gorgeous.
so I also think about it's like where you go. Like here in Sao Paulo, like if you I live in Braz, like and I don't know if he talked about it when he joined, but like to me Braz has two sides. It depends on which side of the metro or yeah, that you're on. Like you might get the crazy shopping side where everyone is, but the part that I live on Braz on the other side is like the calm, beautiful part. So yes, you do see that in Recife as well.
I had
I feel
no
like it has
idea
two
about
sides.
that. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking here at, I mean, there's a part of the city. I'm looking at some other pictures here, guys. I'm shared on the screen. That's definitely more, business oriented, compared to this first picture I showed here, which is cutesy. That looks like Turkish, yeah, like some Islamic influence. One little tidbit of history I do know about Recife is that it was founded by a lot of Danish people. If I'm not mistaken, it's the Danes or the Dutch. Sorry, Holland. And during the Inquisition, a lot of Sephardic Jews, which are the darker skinned Spanish Jews, escaped to Recife. So there is a little bit of that influence in the culture, which is kind of crazy too. And you can kind of figure it out by the last names of a lot of people, how they change the last names to make it sound more Anglo instead of more Jewish. So maybe that accounts for the
For
style
the
of these
Southeast.
buildings, because that's kind of funky. The tops of these buildings, that definitely is not like in Portuguese or Spanish design. Doesn't look like it. Looks more like Middle Eastern Turkish. But cool. I didn't know about that, about the industrial side. Yeah, my big thing with Recife, and guys, I love it when I have my prejudices broken, because like it or not, we all have prejudices. I had the same type of issue happen to me when I went to France the first time, because I grew up in the US where it's like a hobby to talk shit about French people. So I figured I would go there, they would be all rude and treat me nasty and blah blah blah. Man, they were the sweetest folks to me. Like I mean, I tried to speak a little bit of French when they saw that I couldn't, and they would break into English. I think that's a key. Like if you go to a new place, at least try to uh, respect and honor, or whatever the hell you want to use, word you want to use, their culture, and then they'll realize, okay, this girl can't speak, Portuguese that well, or this guy can't speak French that well, and most people are going to treat you nice after that. If you come up in the place, like all wild and like, I'm Kira, American badass, blah blah blah. yeah, they're gonna treat you like shit, you know. So I'm glad that I got that broken when I went to Paris, which, you know, I fell in love, but also because of the stuff that the media sends you about what the Northeast is like, where it's like, you know, you from reading up on the Northeast, you feel like you're going to get shot up on the street, you know. But I'm glad that it was the opposite experience. I felt safer in Salvador than I've ever felt in São Paulo. Um, and I don't know, it was just a really nice experience. But yeah, Kira, I definitely want to go further north. So Recife is on the docket. You know, it's on a list of places to visit. Um, you went though, didn't you? Did you go to another place in the Northeast, or am I going crazy?
Um,
Because I know you visited the
Fortaleza,
South, but I don't want to talk about the South right now. We'll have another day to talk about the South.
is Fortaleza in the north?
Yeah, Fortaleza,
Yeah.
definitely in the north. Yeah, that's another city people say is like mega dangerous. How'd you like Fortaleza?
I loved it. I spent a lot of time at the beach. I didn't. Yeah, that one was just like a quick. Just that was, I think, a three. It was a 4 day, but like a really a 3 day trip. And honestly, I just went to the beach the entire time. Um, I rode bikes and I went to restaurants. Honestly, I had my Kindle and I was at the beach. So I
Oh, there
don't
we
really
go.
have like much history and more things to say about that place. But I didn't feel scared or I didn't feel unsafe.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed myself.
So you get an idea, guys. Northeast, there's Fortaleza right there. If I'm not mistaken, there's no other places on this map. Recife is close by. In Salvador is a little bit further down. It's about here. We're in São Paulo down here with Minas Gerais in the middle. And by the way, guys, Minas Gerais does not end. Oh my God. I was like, at least 20 hours of that trip on the bus was just crossing Minas Gerais. It was insane. Like Minas Gerais is huge. And another thing, when you travel Brazil, one thing that you start to like really feel in your body and your flesh is how big this motherfucking country is. Like a couple weeks ago, somebody sent a meme out, like a little of a map of Brazil, west to east. You can fit Europe inside, you know, West Europe inside of Brazil. It's that big. And there's so much to explore, and every city or every region, I should say, is so different than the other. You know, at some point here, we'll talk a little bit more about the south of Brazil, which is a world of its own. I really want to visit Curitiba. I know you went there. Um, and you know, when it comes to, because you know, the one reason we do this podcast is just to get people, you know, hip to what's going on in Brazil. What's Brazil really like? Because usually outside of Brazil, you only hear about Rio de Janeiro, which is okay. You know, it's a nice city, but that's not it. It's like one little speck in a huge country. And there's so many interesting places to go to. Even here in São Paulo, I talk a lot about going to the interior of São Paulo, the countryside. I fall in love every time I go to the countryside of São Paulo. There's so many cute little cities. You know, there's a little city I want to retire in, you know, when the time comes, which is here in São Paulo called Iguape. And it's like the cutest little thing, man. And you would never imagine that these places existed. Look at Iguape. It's like being in Salvador, but just, you know, in Sao Paulo. It's one of the oldest cities in Brazil. It's got this beautiful river. You know, you cross the river to the other side. You're in this other city called Long Island, Ilha Comprida. Like that's life for me. You know, that there's so much to do here, which is why, by the way, next week or in the next coming weeks, we're going to talk to Wande about retirement in Brazil, because there's things you got to consider when you want to retire here. But there's so many places, and your dollar stretches down here, as Kira knows. Yes, Pete and I are poor. We earn in reais. So
No, I'm poor too.
yeah, but that it helps when you're traveling in dollars. Traveling in reais, stuff starts to add up real quick. You know, when you're traveling in reais. Although I will say this, Salvador was really cheap. You know, compared to São Paulo and Rio, I was shocked. Like it's expensive for them up there. Like even the neighborhood where I was staying in this neighborhood called Baja. And Baja is considered like a ritzy neighborhood, which is this neighborhood right here, Baja. Like I stayed at a little hostel right near where this yellow building is, and it's considered a rich neighborhood. But for me, it was like it was half the price of anything down here in São Paulo. So like these buildings right here are beachfront. There were hotels there that were like 80 to 100 reais per night for a beachfront hotel. Man, you're not gonna find that in Rio de Janeiro. You're gonna be paying 200, 300 reais minimum to get a nice beachfront apartment, Airbnb, whatever, you know. So, you know, if you're into saving money, Salvador or other places in the Northeast are definitely, places to look out for. And Kira, though, because you did stay in Pelourinho, so I think it's important to just talk a little bit about Pelourinho. What did you like about the place? Because for me, this place was, I don't know, I just didn't connect. I didn't connect with it.
I loved it. Again, it gave me like the feel that is just very different than, Sao Paulo. Like I feel like where you were staying, it reminded me a lot of Sao Paulo, just the normal architecture, the modern architecture. Like I wanted something different. So I love the cobblestone roads. I love the colorful buildings. Like I loved everything about that. Like it made me feel like I was in a different area. Um I would say they were saying, be careful with your phones a lot, which so one thing I didn't like is that the roads were blocked. So at nighttime there's not a lot of like street lights and it could be unsafe because it is a touristy area. So
Yeah.
walking down to my hostel, could be a little nerve-wracking sometimes. Like when I had to leave to catch my Uber, when I had to catch my early flight, the second not the there was a person working in the hospital who was kind enough to walk me through that area at the wee hours in the morning so I didn't have to walk by myself. um
Mm-hmm.
but I love the different restaurants. I think it's very great if you want to buy like souvenirs and things like that. I thought it was cute. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I also like picked up on a tour. Like they have free tours while you're down there. And
Mm-hmm.
it just they walk you around and tell you about like the buildings and the architecture. So for me, I love the location, I love the food, the proximity. And I really also enjoyed my hostel that I stayed at as well.
Yeah, this place, guys, Pelourinho is famous, as you can see, the Bahian women. They call them here in Brazil, they call the Baiana, which is the classic image that you see of the old black women from Bahia who are, either leaders or parts of the African religions that you have there. And here you see Olodum, which is super famous. If anybody's seen Michael Jackson's video, They Don't Really Care About Us. That's these people here, Olodum. Just that Michael, he recorded that video in Rio. I thought it was in Salvador because of Olodum, but actually he took the Olodum people into one of the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. But that's them. They performed a lot. I was a little bit lucky because I went there um, right before Independence Day, Salvador Independence Day, which I didn't know about. Like apparently they really fought. They fought the Portuguese, kicked them out of the country, and a lot of people consider the war in Salvador as the beginning of Brazilian independence. I think it was July 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, around that time. So there was a lot of shows, theater performances. Olodum was playing. Even Lula was there. There was one morning where the current president of Brazil was in Salvador to commemorate the Salvador independence. And one thing that was really cool was just one, yeah, seeing this amount of black folks just doing their thing, because here in São Paulo, was just talking to a gentleman before I came on tonight who's coming to São Paulo. He's a black guy, and black people like black tourism, just like I'm sure white people want to go to Italy because their ancestors are from there. Want to go to Ireland because they got ancestors there. So when black people travel, they want to go where the ancestors. Salvador's where the ancestors are, you know. So and it's cool because if you come to São Paulo, and I told him, São Paulo is a very black city, but it's like in the suburbs. Like if you're down on Paulista for 3 days, it's not. That's that community. You got to go to the outskirts. Whereas in Salvador, it's everywhere. It's in the rich area, the poor area, every area. You got these black folks just living their life, making shit work. So it was really nice to see. I just wasn't impressed with Pelourinho that much. Although I'll tell you something. Don't go like a block off of the little town center there because that shit was nuts, man.
Yes.
Like that's crazy. Like that's crazy area. I didn't see too many crazy areas in Salvador, but I would not want to get out of the car like about a block or two past, the limits of Pelourinho because it looked like shit was gonna get wild like at two in the afternoon. I was like, oh no, I don't got time for that. Anyway, guys, I think we're good with Salvador. I highly recommend it. I think Pete, you would love it there. You know, good place for you to go. I know Pete went to Rio a couple years back and he had a good time there. So if you had a good time in Rio, I think you're going to have a really good time in Salvador. Agree with Kira. It's laid back as fuck, extremely laid back. But the nighttime, see, Kira, remember there was that one night I wanted to take you to Rio Vermelho.
Looks lovely.
Yeah.
It is, man.
And the restaurant that we went to that had the beautiful view by the beach and that had my friend that was super helpful.
Yeah, look at this. This is the neighborhood I was trying to take Kira to. It's called Rio Vermelho, Red River. And as you can see, it's a different vibe. This is party central. This is where the party's at. And people are up all night just, doing their thing. We went to what was that restaurant we went to? It was I didn't get a picture of it, but we went to a really nice restaurant. I mean, this is a view from the restaurant up here, so it's right by the beach. We had some really good food. And again, like really nice restaurant, beachfront, really good food. We paid what, 200 reais for two people? Man, try that in São Paulo. Try that by, Paulista Avenue, or try that in Rio and Ipanema. It's going to be double that price or more. So that's another thing that I really recommend about Rio. I mean, Salvador is how cheap it is. And of course, we were here in the favela of Gamboa, which is really cool. There's Ken. It was a rainy day, but I want to show you. Oh, Escondidinho in Pelourinho. There's a few pictures of Pelourinho. There's Kira doing her samba, getting her samba on. Yeah. So just flashing some pictures. There's Praia do Forte, which is really nice area that we went to. And there's Dave. It was raining. Really cute community, about 30 or 40 kilometers outside of Salvador. There's my friend Dave. He's gonna move up there at some point. Up there, they also have something called Projeto Tamar, which I really recommend anybody who gets a chance to go to. It's like it's a reserve for sea animals, especially sea turtles. But there you go. That's the restaurant Kira was talking about, and we had this wonderful dish. And there's the picture that I was saying from outside. Oh my God, it started to rain really heavy here, guys. So hopefully you can hear me through the sound of the rain. So Kira, we brought you here. I'm so happy that you were able to come on. I want to thank, we got a couple listeners. Usually we get listeners coming in around this time. People come in a little bit late, but we're getting ready to wrap up, people. So if you're listening to this afterwards, I'm back. I'm not dead. Okay, neither is Pete. And again, that's why I put this picture up here first to prove that Pete and I actually exist. There we are, downtown São Paulo. We are alive. Um, and if you happen to like sci-fi, I just uploaded a ranking of the Alien franchise. So check that out. And we're gonna have a couple more ranking videos coming up. So we're trying to get back into the groove, guys. So I want to thank everybody that's been patient. And just life is crazy. Some Brazil, that's one thing. It's like you got to be flexible because shit's crazy over here. But my dear, when we have somebody new on the show, somebody that's never been on before, we play this little music. Listen to this music. Now, that music says to me that it's time for us to play the Expat Challenge.
Oh
Okay?
God.
Yes, and it's a quiz.
Oh no.
So we know whether or not you're a bona fide expat or you're just faking it. You're just here
Oh.
to like, if you're just a passport sister.
I don't know passport
Okay.
system. Okay.
So if you fail the quiz, we send your ass back to Wisconsin.
If I fail, you're gonna send me back to Wisconsin.
Yes, in the winter. By the way,
Okay.
guys, I didn't introduce Kira properly. She is a rare species, one of the only black people in Wisconsin. Okay. She loves the cheese. And she's here in Brazil. And I love her. That's all the introduction she needs. So,
Thank you.
folks, I got a couple questions. Hopefully, Pete's got his copy. And answer first thing that comes to your mind. By the way, I'm shouting like this not because I'm deaf or drunk. Well, maybe it's drunk a little bit, but because it's raining really hard, and it's really hard for me to even hear this music in the background. So hopefully y'all can hear me. Kira, question number 1 again. Lightning round. First thing that comes to your mind. All right. Here
Oh
we go.
God.
Best thing about Brazil.
The people.
The people. The people make the place. Perfect answer. Go ahead, Peter. If I can hear him, let me see. Is Peter there? Oh no, Peter is not there. Device not connected. So Kira, I'm doing the quiz now. Worst thing about Brazil.
Police Federal.
Oh my God, guys, the Polícia Federal. Oh my God, I can't believe you gave that as an answer. That is. Explain a little bit about what the Polícia Federal is. I'll get a picture of these people.
It's like the worst. It's your nightmare. It's hell. It's basically the place you have to go to get anything done that has to do with the government. So for me, my visa, my CPF.
There it is, guys. So if you see PF on the side of a building, either you're gonna get like a hot dish because it means prato feito. You know, it's like when you order just a la carte type dish, or it's gonna mean Polícia Federal, the federal police, the federales. And yes, if you ever have to deal with these people, and if you're gonna stay here long term, you probably will at some point. It's hell. I mean, yeah, I tried to get some documents. One time I had to go there 3 times because their website says one thing, the lady at the desk says another, the guy that she sends you to says a third thing, and then you get all those documents ready, you go back again, and then the lady at the desk says one thing, and it's like, what is up with you people? But yeah, man, you're giving a lot of different answers than we're used to, so that's good. What's your favorite Brazilian food?
Carne, arroz, and feijão.
Oh, she's so basic, guys.
I
But she's a
am. I
cutie. She's a
don't
cutie.
really like Brazilian food. So
Okay, so
yeah.
she just wants carne, arroz, e feijão. Rice, beans, well, no, in gold. That's feijão. I don't know how that happened, but here we go. That's the Brazil classic. We know Pete likes rice and beans, but there you go. That's the in fact, because I just said the PF, right? prato feito. So if you're ever walking down the street and you see these signs that says PF, PF, it's for I put prato feita, but it's prato feito because it's masculine. And that's what you're gonna get when you get a prato feito. You're just gonna get your basic, rice, beans, and a protein, either chicken or beef or something. So that's our prato feito. I don't know what happened to Pete, but if he comes back, we'll be here. Next, what is your least favorite Brazilian food? And don't say farofa.
No.
Oh, the rain's
What is
starting.
that thing that looks like a? It's a pastry that people eat. A cold.
Pastry.
Not a pastry. Like people could fill it with chicken, and it looks kind of like a raindrop.
Oh, the coxinha.
Machine. I hate those.
Oh, well, welcome to the club. I used to love them, but then I just got sick of them. I can't eat them anymore. They're too greasy.
Yeah.
Did you know that this got picked as one of the top street foods in the world? I was reading some article that ranks, street foods around the world.
Oh, yeah.
And
That and their chocolate, I do not like.
yeah, coxinha's rough. Coxinha's rough. I mean, try one. You
I've
might
had.
like
I've
it.
tried one. Yeah. I don't like Brazil's coxinas, and I don't like Brazil's chocolate.
Yeah, the chocolate here is a bit sweet, guys. It's not my favorite thing in the world. So when I find good chocolate, like when I was in Salvador, I got this chocolate cake that I was like, "Oh my God, where, how, when, like what's going on?" Like it actually tasted like it wasn't a sugar bomb. In the cake was like soft and like it's different. It's different. You got to get used to it. Some I like, others not. If it's too sugary. They use a lot of sugar here as a base for their sweets. All right. So favorite drink.
Watermelon juice or pineapple juice.
All right, yeah. So suco de melancia. That's how you would ask for some watermelon juice in Brazil. Melancia is watermelon, which I don't like, although I do like melancia. But I do love some suco de abacaxi, which is how you say pineapple. Only thing I don't like about it is that all the foam that stays up the top, like you drinking half the juice. You get like a quarter of the cup is juice, the rest is foam. But it's delicious. And if you like to drink, you can make some nice drinks with this stuff, guys. Brazilian fruits are off the chain because they're so fresh and so tasty compared to the stuff we get in the US. And cheap, really cheap. Let's see. Next question. What is your favorite drink? Speaking of drinks, what is your favorite? Oh, no, I just asked you that. What is your best place you have visited in Brazil?
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. Oh, that's not fair. Hey, Sifi.
She's going with Recife, so maybe you're gonna be my travel partner if I go up there. You can
Yeah.
show me around. I'm maybe gonna do it next year. I don't think this year's a good year for me to travel again. But yes, favorite place in Brazil, guys. You heard the girl. She said Recife again. I always hear terrible things about Recife, but that was like 8 years ago, 7 years ago. I also have been hearing that the city's improved since then. They've invested a little bit more in the city because it was kind of falling apart. So maybe it's time for me to go to Recife. What do you consider the most overrated location or thing in Brazil?
No, most overrated location or thing.
And you're free to say Rio de Janeiro. Everybody does, including me. But you love Rio, so
I love Rio. So
I
for
do.
me, I'm gonna say by Salvador.
Oh no! Okay, I'm cooking. I, I'm gonna find me a cheap ticket for Kira to Wisconsin. What's the flight that you sent me? And I'll put it on the wrong day just to screw you over.
I do. I actually want to go home. Like I'm not looking for it. I can't take another hot Christmas. Like I can't. I
I
can't. I can't.
know. Well, you gotta go down to Gramado for
I am.
Christmas.
I have already booked it. I'm trying to
Yeah.
decide if I want to stay down there for Christmas
Oh,
or
it's probably gorgeous at Christmas time.
yeah. But no, I booked my ticket for the 18th. So I'm definitely going to be down there during
Guys,
that
look
time.
at Gramado. This is in the south of Brazil. Like I said, it's like Brazil is mini Brazil. Like this doesn't even look like it's still in the same country. It looks like you went to Heidi land, like you're in Switzerland or something. Look at the
Oh, you're not
fucking
sharing your
Christmas.
screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I got the scary music on. Wait up, let me take the scary music off. And there's Gramado. Look at that. It's like you're in a different fucking planet, you know?
Yeah, I'm so
But
excited
you
to
gotta
go.
know, you just gotta realize, guys, Brazil again. I say it like every podcast is huge, and it's a bit like the U.S. in terms of it's a country made up of immigrants, and depending on the region, the further south you go, you got a lot of Dutch influence, but also, like I said, in Recife has some Dutch influence. Get a lot of Germans. There's places in Brazil where people still speak a dialect of German in the south, towards Santa Catarina. You have, of course, a lot of Italians, like here in São Paulo. That's why we get that good food here in São Paulo, because we get a lot of Italian influence. You have the Japanese. Brazil is the country that has the most Japanese outside of Japan. A lot of Middle Easterns. Brazil has more Lebanese people in Brazil than in Lebanon. Uh, a lot of course, a lot of the diaspora. Unfortunately, we didn't ask to come here, but we got here. So we got a lot of that influence, and even the indigenous cultures. Their food, their culture is really part of the fabric of the country. So it's like a salad bowl, Brazil, and depending on your style, you can have a little bit of everything, or you can just live in Sao Paulo and you get like a miniature version of everything. Because like Sao Paulo is the nucleus in Brazil where all the other Brazilians migrated to. So when you're here, you can get a little taste of Recife and Salvador and Santa Catarina and all these places. Um, but of course, it doesn't beat the real thing. So it's cool, Kira, that you've taken on this traveling. I got to get you and Rod on at the same time to talk about traveling, because he doesn't stop either. That motherfucker, he's everywhere. He is everywhere. Actually, you guys ended up meeting, right?
Yeah, we did. I loved him. I am trying to go to Rio next weekend, so maybe I'll hit him up.
Oh, please. And then sugar him up to come back on. I got to sugar him up to come back on and talk about just traveling in Brazil, places to travel. And then y'all can go crazy. Um, let's see. We're almost done here. Best place to chill in your city, as in Sao Paulo.
The
What is the
plus,
best place to hang out in Sao Paulo? You just want to chill out and be cool.
I like going to the CES.
Oh God, that's so great, man.
I really like going, like, because I'll catch a show, or they have the cafeteria, or the library, or just like the one
Which
in
one do you go? I imagine you go to Belenzinho because that's close to your house, or do you go to the other
no
one?
the nope the one in Republica. That's like
Oh, that's a nice one too. They're all
yeah.
nice. I mean, guys, look at this. And if you happen to work here and be a registered worker, you have access to the pool, which is amazing. But the even if you don't have access to the pool, you can go to the you can just go there and watch shows. This is the one in 24 de Maio. They have a rooftop pool, which is cool. But the building inside is really cool. I live near Pinheiros, so I go to the Pinheiros one a lot. Oops. That's Sesc 24 Pinheiros. That doesn't work. Let's try that. So there's Sesc Pinheiros. They keep showing the pools, but there's other parts of Sesc. They got theaters. And my favorite, really, Kira, where I've seen the best shows is Sesc Pompeia. They usually get the
Never been
best
there.
shows. Yeah, they usually get the top artists. They all go here because it's very famous, especially because of the architecture. That's Lina Bobardi. She's a very famous architect here. She did Maspi. She did this building. She's famous for her brutalist style. So a lot of people go here, and it's gorgeous. Sesky Pompeia is just amazing to go to. And what the hell is Sesky, you ask? Sesky is like the Brazilian version, but like amped up and way better of the YMCA. It's just a community center. And, they have workshops. You can learn judo. You can learn how to draw. You can learn how to play tennis. And it's all free. Um, and how it works is if you are a registered worker, you can have access to all of the facilities for free, or for a discount if there's shows and stuff like that. If you're not a registered worker, though, it's usually so cheap, and they have a lot of free expos, and it's awesome. Another one, Kira, that you can go to is the one on Paulista, which has a very famous rooftop view. A lot of people go up here to see.
And they just opened another new one as well in Bella Vista.
Oh, nice. Yes, Seskis are everywhere. I highly recommend Seski if you are in São Paulo. And then we have favorite Brazilian musician or band.
I'm going to say his name wrong. Pericles.
I knew you were going to say this, dude. Pericles.
I love him.
And he sings a type of music that we call pagode, which is very similar to samba, but it's a little bit slower and more melodic than samba is. But a lot of times you can't tell the difference between one and the other. They're very, very similar styles of music. And he used to be part of a band, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, he used to sing with Exalta Samba, or no? But Exalta Samba is a really, really, really great.
I thought it was just him and another guy.
I don't think he sang with Exalta Samba. I think it's just he sang a lot with the singer from Exalta Samba, I guess. Oh, no. Pericles não descarta retorno ao Exalta Samba. He's not throwing away the idea of going back to Exalta Samba. And he used to sing with Tiaguinho. Tiaguinho is the other boy that used to sing in Exalta Samba. It's this boy right here. Wait, Tiaguinho. And this was one of my, like, when I got to Brazil, they were hot. They were like the biggest band in the country. And this is back when pagode was black. It's changed since then. And it was fun. And the songs were still kind of funny. But, unfortunately, Exalta Samba, as popular as they were, like, Kira, like they kind of were the best and worst thing to happen to pagode because they popularized it, but they also had a lot of the kind of melodic, romantic stuff. Just that their versions of it were good, but then everybody wanted to copy it. And now pagode is just melody and like it's all honey, I miss you, and I can't get into it. It's too sugary now, pagode. But back in the day, like 10 years ago, wasn't that long. Back in the day, they were hot. And there they are right there. And that's how Pericles got his start. And then I think I got one more question for you. A word of advice for future visitors to this beautiful country called Brazil.
A word of advice. Don't be afraid to go out and venture on your own.
Don't be afraid to go and venture on your own. That's perfect advice. And because it is scary, right? I mean, like it or not.
People get intimidated because it's like a big city and everybody's telling you not to take out your phone and it's not safe, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't tell you the amount of people when I was like on Facebook Marketplace, like looking for places to live, and like people kept telling me no bras. Like, I will never want to move out of Bras. I love Bras so much.
I feel you, but they weren't wrong. It's just that you're living on the nice side of Bras. Because when you told me you're living in Bras, guys, this is Bras. Like, if you put Bras on the internet, this is what you get. So it's not like they were wrong. Like, look at this mess. It's a mess at Bras. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Don't take out your phone. Don't nothing. So when Kira said she moved to Bras, I was like, what the fuck is it? Like before I met her, I was like, whoa, this is like some real ghetto ass bitch here. Like, I want to meet her. She's hardcore. Like she wants to live like in the fuck, like inside the fucked up mess, you know? Which I respect. I mean, if that's what you what you're into, that's what you're into. But then I went to meet up with her one day at Bras, and then I went to the other side of the metro, which is where you get to this wonderful area here. Um, but she lives on the other side of Bras, which is cute and
At the park, the
quiet and tranquilo.
quiet. Yeah.
And I don't know if I could even get a picture of the other side of
No,
Bras. I
I don't
think it
think we
doesn't.
have a picture of that side. No. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that I did a lot and I'm trying to get back into, but I love so much and it's also very risky. But I'm
Mhm.
also a risky and adventurous person. I would get on the metro and just go and get off random spots. That's how I found like Becko to Batchman by accident. That's how I
Mhm.
found Paulista by accident. Like I just get on and just go. Like I love Sao Paulo so much because it's just like every place is different. Like you can either be in like a favela in like a very crazy part, or you could be in like a place that makes you feel like you're back in the States to me. Like I really, I don't know. I love Sao Paulo. You never know what you're going to get and just being open to the flow. Um, and I also think that it's the Wisconsin in me growing up in predominantly white places.
Mhm.
I'm used to just being the only black person in the room. So I don't
Mhm.
let that stop me from certain experiences. Like I do a lot of excursions or go to a lot of restaurants or just do a lot of things and I'm the only black person in the room. And I have a great time.
I'm so glad you say that because one thing that I really, really try to push with this podcast. I mean, obviously. I mean, I have a lot of black friends who I invite on, but I invite on Indians. I invite on white folks. I mean, Pizza White dude from Canada, and I love him to death. He's my co-host. So I really tried to push to not make this like a black podcast because I know there's plenty of them out there already. and um and I sometimes feel that's limiting, and like I hear sometimes people are like, oh, I would never go to like this city because it's too white, or I would
Right.
never
Yep. Like Florianopolis or Gramado.
yeah,
You
and
have
I'm
no
like,
interest in traveling to the South. Okay.
yeah, I don't get that attitude, and that's because I grew up in Jersey, which was mixed, like there's black folks, there's white folks, but my neighborhood was basically like a white neighborhood too. So I'm used to being, like you said, like the only black person in the room. Um, so I go to places for the place, and
Mm-hmm.
if the people treat me nice, I will love them regardless of what shade of skin color they are. That doesn't mean that there aren't issues, and it doesn't mean that there's definitely racism down here, and that's a whole nother topic. But I think the attitude that you bring with you is half the battle, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to stuff like that. And just that's like how I discovered Iguapi. I had a student that said, "Oh, we're going to Iguapi this weekend because my mom lives there." And I was like, "Iguapi? What the hell is that?" And if you go to Iguapi, it's mainly, it's mostly a lot of Asians there, a lot of Japanese, a lot of white folks, but it's got a mix. There's black folks down there too. And I was like, shit, I fell in love with this little city. It's like on the edge of a river. There's all these other little cities around it. Actually, Steph went there with her ex, and she loved it too. Like, I just recommended it as a nice little weekend trip, and they fell in
Mm-hmm.
love. And it's so cute. I'm like, I could stay in this place. Like, I didn't want to leave this place, and the weather's a little better than Salvador. Um, so explore exactly what Kira said. Be safe, of course. Be smart. Don't be flashing your iPhones or watching, some movie on your cell phone while you're waiting for your Uber because it will get snatched. You know, but there's
But I also
damn
feel like
near.
it's I don't know, like the whole safety thing. To me, I guess my experience here, I don't feel like it's anything more crazier than being in the States. Like for me, if you can last in Chicago, you can last in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's experience because I this is the first place I've ever been mugged in my entire life.
Okay.
So I do feel danger here, and I do feel like I know people that, like, I always break it down like this: if you've never experienced crime, you in Brazil, you at least know somebody who has experienced crime, and there's proof evident because you know me, Kira. you
Yeah.
know. So whereas in the States, I didn't experience that as much. Like, yeah, crime happens. There's dangerous areas. There's areas to stay out of,
Yeah.
but it's not as random. Like, you can kind of know, all right, I'm just not going to go down that street because I know that's like a gang area, or there's some crazy weird people over there. I'll stay on this side of the street. And even with the crazy shit with the mass shootings and all that, I still don't feel like, here I feel a little bit more like I just gotta always keep, at least in Sao Paulo, like when I leave Sao Paulo, I don't feel that for some reason. Like in Salvador, I did not feel that at all. Like, there was one place I went to pick something up that I felt, okay, this is a kind of a sketchy place. Let me just, watch watch where I'm going. Or when we were in that favela, remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Bro,
Oh my
we
god.
went to this favela because it's gorgeous. It's like, it was so much fun. But the night that we went, it was raining really hard. And then we had to leave a little bit early. And then I took this other route because there's a way to get in that's through the street, but there's a bunch of crackheads up there and it was dark. And I remember this I shouldn't say tranny, this transsexual, transvestite that I befriended there. She showed me a way through the middle. So I was like, all right, let's go through the middle, because up top, like, I don't want to walk up top at this late at night. And we passed all these crackheads on the way to the favela. But then as we're going through the middle, I'm trying to act all like tough, like I know what's going on. But man, my heart stopped a little because we passed by these 5 or 6 boys that they were the boys, if you know what I mean. Like, they were doing their shit, doing their business. And we were like, oh shit. I was like, this is where it ends.
This is where.
No, because, and then I was like, I just try to act cool. And I walked by, and then one of them just said "boa," which means it's all good. Pretty much that's what that means. It's all good. I just said "boa" back, and I was like, ah. And then the most magical thing happened. We walked like another like 10 steps, and then the same transsexual that I had befriended the other day, and forgive me, I forgot her name. That's why I keep calling her the transsexual. But I forgot her name. I have her on my Facebook, even on my Instagram. But she was there, and I was like, oh my God, and I didn't notice her at first. I walked right past her because I was so nervous. I was like, I just want to get out. And then she's like, oh, you didn't even say hi and this. And then we stopped, and we got, Kira got to hold a baby.
Yeah. Are you a mom? No, I have a dog. I have a dog.
Yeah, so it's that was a little bit harrowing, but even then it was like, okay, it was all good. It was all good. You just gotta be smart. And one thing about Sao Paulo that's a little bit different than maybe Rio or even Salvador to an extent is that Sao Paulo is so big that, like, you kind of know the neighborhoods. Like what Kira said, like Brás is divided on 2 sides. There's one side that's not like dangerous, like people are getting shot in the street, but it's a lot of people. It's like a lot of pickpockets, a lot of like stuff that happens at night. There's a lot of crime, people trying to cross when they cross the little bridge out of the train. There's a lot of muggings. But then there's the other side, which is laid back as fuck. And usually, once, like, the people from the crazy side don't go to the laid back side, and vice versa. So that's what I do kind of like about Sao Paulo, is that you can kind of gauge before you enter a place whether you want to enter the place or not, which is different than like Rio, where the favelas and the rich people, and I say rich people only because, hey, they got the shit that the other people want to steal. It's like right next to each other. So you can be in Copacabana, you can be in Ipanema, and motherfuckers can come straight down and rob you and go right back into wherever they came from, in the ghetto. So yeah, I mean, it's on my mind. I can't say that I don't think about, when I leave the house. I put my phone in my underwear. I got these little fanny packs that hide stuff, which kind of sucks. I hate it, but
That's crazy that you do all of that here. I've never done any of that.
I do, only because I've been mugged before, and I've had an attempted mugging. But I yelled at the motherfucker that tried to rob me here close to my house. I was like, I probably know your mom. I'm in the
No,
I'm in
I know
the
your mom.
No, I literally said that because they were like young. They were like 18, 16. There was like five of them and they're trying to rob me. I just yelled at them. I was like, I'm in this fucking favela every fucking day. I got family down here. You trying to rob me? I probably know your damn moms. And then they gave me my shit back and they left me alone. But another times, no. I mean, I had a knife pulled out on me before. I got shot at before. Pete, unfortunately, Pete's not here. Man, he's gone. He's had everything done to him. I'm surprised he's alive. So I guess it depends. It's all a matter of, like blessings. And, even Monica, remember that, there was a time when a friend of ours, Monica, she was coming home in Santander, and these two guys tried to rob her, and then she fought them off. So it's weird here. There's always somebody trying to get one over. This country has a lot of getting one over on other people, especially when it's gringos. But anyway, guys, this was kind of like a flash episode just to get us back to speed. Like I said, we got Wanda is going to come on soon and talk about retirement, and she's retired in Salvador, but she will tell us about her retirement, things to look out for, and you're going to hear the craziest story you've ever heard in your life about how her friend, died down here.
Oh my
But it
God, yeah.
involves black magic and it involves like
Crazy.
everything. Dude,
Yeah.
you heard the short version, Kira. She gave me.
No. I called her back, and I talk to Wanda quite often now.
Oh, good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that connection has been made because she is a very
Amazing.
beautiful person. Very beautiful
Yeah.
person. And so, yeah, you guys are going to hear like the nuttiest fucking story ever and just something to look out for and be careful about. And what else? And then, like I said, I got the Indian ambassador who I'm really just trying to get our schedules to match so that I can have her on the show. It's probably going to be a recorded episode, not live. And speaking of recorded, I'm editing down an interview that I did. It's going to be my first BJ in Portuguese, personal trainer, really cool guy named Adriano. I recorded an interview with him, 2 weeks ago? So I'm just editing that one down, and that's going to be out there. And if you don't speak Portuguese very well, put on that CC button, click that little gear on the right side, bottom right side of your YouTube page, and you should be able to get it in English. And it's not perfect, but you get about 90 to 95% of it should come out pretty nicely. And that's it, guys. I love doing these. I love to connect with the expat community out there. And I love being able to show you guys that Brazil is more than just Rio and samba and soccer in the Amazon. I mean, those are four amazing things that this country has to offer, but it's got so much more. And I forgot to change the page here. You guys are seeing a little slideshow of the area around Iguape, and you can figure out why I want to move to this area looking at all these pictures. There's a lot of natural reserves around there and a lot of beaches around this area, and it's fucking gorgeous and safe. Speaking of safety, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, I'm walking around this place and people are like, yeah, you don't got to put your phone away. Like, nobody's going to rob you here. Anyway, that's it. That is how we end the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. We'll hopefully get Pete to fix his computer at some point because I do need my damn co-host. And guess what, Kira? You are
Yes.
so lovely, and you get to say goodbye over some outro music. Here it is. So, guys, thank you for listening to the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. We'll be back soon. Kira, any final words? I want to thank
No,
you
thank you
first.
so much for having me.
Well, I want to thank you for being here, and we will talk soon. Thank you very much. And it's way past your bedtime. You got to go to
It
bed.
is.
Yes. Well, I'm not going to say
You
that.
know me so well.
Let me play a nursery rhyme for you. Wait, I'm trying to think of one that kind of rhyme, like it's the same melody as the ABC song, isn't it?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Yeah.
I don't want twinkle twinkle little star.
All right. Anyway, guys, in jokes. I'm out. Bye.
Bye.